Okay, and now the big question.
Big question.
Where does our cell signaling technology, the InCelligence technology, come into play? Where are we grabbing those type of things from?
Sure. So that fourth aspect of nutrition, our InCelligence technology, we've known for many, many years as scientists that fruits and vegetables are so good for our health. It's literally the more fruits and vegetables we eat, the better our health outcomes are. So, scientists are arrogant. They want to try to hone down and find the one magic bullet that's maybe sitting in an orange or a tomato or a pepper, put it in a pill and give it to humans. Well, after we got the big easy ones out of the way, the vitamins, right? Vitamin E, vitamin C, what they really started to look into was these phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are those other chemicals that plants make. And it's really those compounds that give fruits their bright and different colors. And it turns out those compounds have a bunch of health benefits. But what's so interesting is scientists were fooled a little bit, or maybe led down a wrong path. So when scientists first started to isolate these various compounds from these fruits and vegetables, they put them in a test tube and they started measuring antioxidant activity, for example. And it turns out that these compounds in a test tube are amazing antioxidants, just absolutely amazing. But then when the scientists would go and test them in humans, they'd give them these doses. The problem was they could never get the dosages high enough in people so that they could act like you'd expect an antioxidant to do. So again, the scientists were scratching their heads and they're thinking, how can these compounds, how can fruits and vegetables be so healthy, but yet all those compounds we isolate out don't have a health benefit? And this really led them down the path of looking into cell signaling and how all of these different chemicals from all these fruits and vegetables can actually work on cell signaling pathways to elicit a health benefit inside of our cells.
Awesome. Cell signaling sounds like a complex thing. Is there a way for us to put it into context for people so even people like me, I'm just a writer, can kind of understand the science behind this?
All right. Well, you're a writer. I like to go back to definitions and words. Just for fun, a little bit ago, I looked up the definition of intelligence. And I was actually quite surprised by what that definition was. And it turns out the definition of intelligence, I won't put you on the spot, but that definition of intelligence is you're being able to adapt and respond to your environment, right? So it's not memorizing a bunch of college textbooks. It's being able to adapt and respond to your environment. And so if you've ever seen me give my intelligence presentation, I ask the question, do you actually need a brain to be intelligent? And when you start looking around nature and you start looking at everything from single cell organisms all the way up to us, right? You can see these cells, right? And then not as complex organisms reacting and responding to their environment. So the answer is no, you don't need a brain to be intelligent. And the reason that single cell organisms, simple organisms like insects or worms, up to mammals, right, rats, mice, us, can actually be intelligent is because our cells are equipped with the ability to sense and respond to their environment. And the way that they do that is through cell signaling.
Can we just go back and clarify one thing? How do antioxidants, regular antioxidants, and InCelligence nutrients work differently when they enter into my body?
When they work different?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll go back to that analogy of the scientists kind of teasing out the different compounds from these fruits and vegetables and putting them in that test tube. So when they put them in that test tube, like I mentioned, they were expected to work like antioxidants. It's great antioxidant properties. So then they would take those compounds and they'd give them to you or me and then try to measure that same activity. But what they found is that concentration of those nutrients were not getting high enough in the blood to possibly be working like these traditional vitamin antioxidants. So the scientists are scratching their head and they're thinking, well, there must be something different going on. These compounds must be working in a different way scientifically than traditional antioxidants.
So when these get into my body, how are they impacting my health, and how does that process actually work?
Okay, so I mentioned the term cell signaling earlier, and let's talk about cell signaling, and then we'll talk about the huge biological effects that these compounds can have in our body. Cell signaling is nothing more than a cell responding to its environment. So it can be responding to its external environment, or it can be responding to its internal environment. right? So what's going to happen is you're going to have some sort of sensing compound, right, or sensing molecule inside of the cell. The scientific term is a receptor. So the receptor is going to sense the environment externally or internally, and it's going to start a chain of events to happen in the cell, and then that cell is going to elicit some sort of cellular consequence. So that's it put very generally, and I'll run over to the whiteboard. If you want an easy way to remember it, it's just A, then B, then C, then D, and then that cellular consequence. So think of this as your receptor or that sensing, and then you're going to get some sort of cellular consequence at the end. So then your other question is, how are these then beneficial for our health? What's so amazing about these nutrients is they can turn on cell signaling pathways, right, to try to optimize our cellular function. Sensing occurs, right, so your nutrient will bind here. It's almost, think of it as molecular targeting of a nutrient. The consequences can be things like supporting a healthy immune system. It can be like turning on our body's natural detoxification pathways. Our bodies are also equipped with its own antioxidants. That's how important antioxidant protection is to our overall body. So again, through these cell signaling pathways, turning on specific genes, in this case, we can turn on our body's natural antioxidant defenses.
So that's where we got to these extra benefits, basically, that people were seeing.
Think about in our lives compounds that have huge consequences. Or think about a woman taking birth control pills. Again, very small quantities of compounds can have these huge physiological consequences. I mean, you can completely remodel a woman's reproductive cycle. So small amounts of these compounds can have huge consequences inside of the cell.
I'm really glad that you guys figured all this out and put it in, Cell Essentials and our other InCelligence products, so that we can maybe not have to eat 30,000 bell peppers, although they're very good.